Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's 𝐷𝐉𝐘𝐒, and I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor of Commercial Construction and Renovation magazine. That's what it used to look like. We're digital now. Went digital August of 2021. But this is 2020 December. Really good looking. And Deborah Delaney, Associate Vice President Design Construction for Mark Sport Check. This was a great looking issue. 148 pages. Really look really nice, and I'm sitting under my flag, my pack of dogs. They're all rescues, and actually we lost the big one there. We lost him last year, Gulliver. He rest in peace. But anyway, that's my pack, and but it's always nice to hold a magazine in my hands. And but going digital, it's been an amazing ride. Had another couple million people hit our website this past month, and I got one more month left in 2023, and we'll see if we. I had 29 million last year. I don't know. Maybe we'll go over 30. It's basically on that same track. So, but listen, I couldn't have done it with all you out there. So thank you so much for finding us on the web. It's Cyber Monday. That's all I'm getting in my email. You know, Cyber Monday. You didn't buy anything over the weekend, but hopefully everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Ate lots of food. Watched a lot of football. Maybe hit some golf balls wherever you might be warm. But anyway, I hope everybody, you got about 4 weeks to go. And in my life, it's about 2.5 weeks in the month of December, and everybody takes off, you know, in retail, because stores are built and they've had a long, long year, and they disappear for about 2 weeks, from a little before Christmas all the way through New Year's, and then it all picks up back again. So with that said, I've got a nice gentleman down in the great state of Texas, out of Dallas, and his name is Barton Drake. He's the principal of HED, and they do business in the public sector. Barton, say hello from Big D.
Greetings, David. It's great to be here. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. We really appreciate you finding the time on a Monday. Everybody's coming in. They're trying to get through their email boxes. I've got about 4 emails that I've created, and I'm like, ooh, I don't even want to send anything until about 1 or 2. I got to catch a flight tonight, so I'm going to be jamming this afternoon. I got a signage report and a security for my last issue, and I forget what the other one is. And anyway, I'm like, I don't do it until the afternoon, because everybody's going to be getting through their email boxes. And I was going to send them before, and I'm like, they're just going to get lost. And you know how it is. So. But it looks like it's nice down there in Dallas, and a little chilly here in the ATL. Sunny but chilly, and old man winter. He's finally arrived. Got rid of all the leaves off the trees a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just waiting for spring. I'll be here before I know it. By the end of February, the cold, February, March, but by the time April comes, it's warm here. You just got to deal with pollen. So, Bart, the way we're going to work this is. We do it in 3 parts. You'll tell us your story, where you grew up, where you went to school, and how you ended up where you are today at HED. And then we'll talk about lessons learned over the last 2 years of the roller coaster that we've all been on. And then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase, and then we'll close it out. I do have a sponsor today. They're called the Contractor Consultants, and we're gonna watch a little video here, and then we'll get to Barton's story. So hang tight. It's just about, maybe about a minute long. I think it's 57 seconds. So anyway, enjoy the video, and we'll be back with you after it's done.
Hey, everybody. For all you contractors out there struggling to hire, I want to introduce you to a partner, dear friends of mine, the Contractor Consultants. This is the company that is putting recruiters and staffing agencies out of business. So if you're a construction business right now and you're struggling to hire, you want to grow and expand your team next year, and you're sick and tired of sifting resumes and all the administrative burden of hiring, well, I've got something very special for you. These guys have figured it out. They've made construction hiring faster, easier, and a lot more affordable. They're endorsed by ZipRecruiter, Indeed, and they work nationwide across all 87 industries. So if you want to put your hiring to bed for a small monthly fee, and learn a new way, a better way, a more effective way to hire in our industry, schedule a call and learn more about this new hiring solution. Text HIRE to 66866. That's HIRE to 66866. Worst case scenario, you show up on the call and you'll learn a few things you didn't already know about hiring. These guys wrote the book, the course, and are doing it every day. Welcome to the show, and thank you for listening.
Thanks for watching the video. The contractors and consultants. They're a great group. They're out of LA, and like I said, they go to 87 Industries. So if you looking for some help to get some added team members to your firm, give these guys a shot. They've got a really cool gig the way that they do things, and they know what they're doing. So with that said, Barton, like I said, I do it in 3 parts. Tell your story, talk about the last 3 years, and then your contact info. So with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your story.
Wow, thank you, David. That's a that's a lot of pressure. But I'll do my best to carry through and tell Barton's story. It's well, I'm almost a little over 4 decades into my career, so it's been an interesting journey. Uh, Born and raised in Dallas, Texas. And it's interesting because a lot of people struggle with finding out where they fit in the world and what they want to do with their life. And I was lucky. When I was in junior high, I was an okay average student, but when I was in junior high, I took a drafting class. And it was the only class I recall in my entire public sector education where I hated it when the class ended. I'd sit down in my seat and start drawing, and then the bell would ring, and I would go, "Wait, I'm not ready to leave yet. This can't be over yet." So that was a clue that tuned me in very early in life that I loved drawing, and I didn't know about architecture at the time. But when I got into high school, I had a friend that invited me to do construction with him during the summer, and it was a fun job of decking apartment buildings. So all I did was heave plywood for 12 hours a day during the summer when I was in high school. And then I hooked up with through the same friend, he hooked me up with a framing company, and I started framing houses in the summer. So my beginning, I guess, in the profession started in junior high and kind of morphed in high school, where I put drawing and construction together, and it just time flew. I loved it. It was something I totally had a great time doing. So when I got out of high school, I went to college here in the Dallas area for about a year, and ended up moving down to Austin, Texas, to go to the University of Texas at Austin. Hook'em Horns, by the way, great football this weekend. In case you missed it.
Yeah, congratulations.
So down there, I actually was chased a high school girlfriend that went to school down in Austin, and when I transferred down there, I realized that I probably wasn't as academically geared for the University of Texas system. It's a fairly stringent program. So after one semester, I decided I better pause for a moment and really get my act together before I could complete my career in college, because it was a lot harder than what I'd anticipated. Just coincidentally and really uniquely, my girlfriend's brother-in-law was a dropout architecture student. Go figure. I'm not sure how that worked out, but so and it just so happened that he had been working in construction. He was a gifted framing carpenter. He could cut any kind of complicated roof you could imagine. So we said, "Hey, I'm not ready yet to do the college thing. We start a construction company in Austin, Texas, in the boom time. It was big growth back in the late 1970s, and we spent about 2.5 years together, building houses all over the area, out in the hill country and throughout the town, and I loved it. I think, but after couple of winters, and there's some things that you learn about teamwork in the construction business, right? And we were a small company. If guys didn't show, we would be the 2 of us, and it's kind of hard to frame a roof with 2 guys. So after some struggles, that motivated me, I guess I would say, to go back, finish my college career, which I did, and graduated a little later in life because I took a couple years to work and get a handle on things, but graduated, had a great experience, and then I met my current wife there when I was in Austin. My high school girlfriend. That was not a long-term deal, as you might sometimes know. That happens.
They never are, the high school girlfriends. Very few of those stories out there.
It was a great journey. I'm glad I went down to Austin because of her I met my current wife, who I've been married to for going on 40 years. So that's a
33 for me. So
good on you. That's great. And you have a partner in life, it makes the journey a whole lot more fun, and it helps get you through the rough patches if you got the right partner anyway, right?
Yeah.
So when I met my wife, Austin was booming, and we had a conversation about what to do. She grew up. Her father was an atmospheric scientist for the government. He was a brainiac, and he traveled quite a bit. And she lived in several other states, and so she'd actually seen every state in the country because her parents traveled so much, and I was not as lucky to travel as she was. So when we talked about it, and because we were both a little bit pushing that close to 30 mark, we decided we wanted to start a family center. So we just opted to be near family and came back to Dallas, where my family was. So that's kind of why I ended up landing back in Dallas, where I grew up. So I've been here since I graduated in 1984. I had about a 6-year stint with a small company called Brandon Shellmeyer. Overton Shellmeyer was an awesome human being, kind of mentored me, interviewed me down at college. He was also a UT guy, so he came down to the University of Texas in Austin, and they have an interview program for graduates, which is great. And I got 2 job offers, and I took his because I thought he offered the best path for diversity early in my career. Since I had that construction background, I kind of knew some stuff that a lot of young architects don't know because they just don't have that hands-on construction experience, right? So that kind of flavored my perspective, and I think they appreciated that. So I came back to work at Brandon Shellmeyer right out of college, worked in downtown Dallas. So that was an interesting experience. And that was about 6 years. I got to do so many different projects. It was a great learning ground because they gave me a lot of rope. I had actually, within 9-10 months of being on the job, they had turned over an 8,000 square foot wide WCA project for me to do soup to nuts. And this was, of course, pre-computer, so everything was hand, pencil,
Yeah, hand.
right? So I got to do, within the first year of graduating from college, kind of my first project from soup to nuts. Drew all the drawings, coordinated the design team, worked through the bid process with the client, and then did the construction administration process with the contractor. I will say they beat me up pretty good. I did the drawings. They weren't perfect drawings, as there are no perfect drawings, as I'm sure you know. It was a good set, but I learned a good lesson in that process, and got a lot of different kind of experience. I really don't think there's a project type that I haven't worked on. So I had an opportunity through a friend that one of the architects that worked there that knew another father-son team that had a very small company, and they were looking for a young architect to come maybe join the firm. There was only like 5 of them at the time. So it was a big shift for me. And so I had lunch with the partners of the other firm for about 6 or 7 months, and then when the time was right, I made the move. And that was largely because Brennan Shellmeyer, while they were a great company, they weren't looking forward into the computers were starting to come online by the late 80s, right? Some firms were adopting it more than others. And I knew that this firm was, and that was the future of architecture. So I decided these guys were not going to get there in time for me and where I was in my career. So then I made that move to a company called Beddoe and Associates, which was a father-son team, both architects that had kind of teamed up about 3 years before I joined, 3 or 4 years before I joined the firm. So I came on board, employee number 6, and that was in 1990. Worked there, became a partner in a few years. We did primarily public sector work when we were VAI. And at about 3 years ago, they decided the father and the son were looking to transition out. So they started talking to other companies. That's where the dialogue with HED came into play. So we probably had discussions and conversations with several firms, but the HED culture it seemed like such a great fit. About 400 people nationwide, scattered out over 9 different offices on the West Coast, in the North, and then in Texas. So it was just an opportunity. And so HED is also a full service integrated architecture engineering firm. So and they're in like 10 different marketplaces. So for me, I was not a young man anymore, but I had done such a diverse amount of work, primarily regionally in the area, some adjacent states, but mostly in the region. And it just seemed like an incredible opportunity for all of us to kind of spread our wings and reach out and become part of a much bigger pool of really talented people in a lot of different market sectors. So that deal, it took, I don't know, it took 6 or 7 months to negotiate and get worked out. So I'm 2 years into the merger here at HED, and I'm loving it. I mean, I'm working across multiple time zones, so that's been a little bit of a challenge as I've grown. But I've had the blessing, I guess, the way I look at it, to work in almost every project type there is. I think everything from multifamily, residential, higher ed, K-12. I've worked in maintenance facilities. You know, the Dallas area has a light rail system. I've worked in station design for light rail systems here in the Dallas area. It's just, you know, of course, a lot of the cities, federal and state, and the municipal governments, from maintenance facilities to water treatment facilities, you know, high-end residential. When I started in Brown-Schellmeyer, we were working on in homes for the what I considered the, you know, the benefactors of the city. These were the very wealthy leaders of the city. So I got to, as a kid, right out of school, I was working on, you know, 10, 15,000 square foot residences. It was so what a broad spectrum of experiences and opportunities. So that's kind of my story and kind of where I am today, and what I like to call the fourth quarter of my career. And I'm just having a blast because it's an exciting firm. We got young people, talented people all over the country. I get to interact with people now. I'll be talking to someone in California in the afternoon, maybe someone in Boston in the morning. Maybe talk to someone in Detroit. And by the way, the other interesting thing I meant to mention about HED that I want everyone to know is it was founded in 1908. So it's been around, right? There aren't many companies that have survived that many years of design and construction industry. As you know, it has its peaks and valleys as the economy moves up and down. So does our ability to work.
I just call it the roller coaster. I don't care what happens. It's, you know, I mean, you and I are probably close. My family is in demolition recycling. They've been in business since 1888. So
you can appreciate that.
Yeah. But like you, it was outside of Philly, and you got your license at 16 in Pennsylvania, and all the grandsons, when you got your license, you had to go work in the scrapyard. You had no choice. That's just the way it was. So my two other cousins were all born in June, so we all got our licenses. And then, you know, I burnt steel in the scrapyard. I knocked asbestos off pipes. I laid railroad tracks. You know, I did all that. And on my mother's side, that was my mother's side. So on my father's side, he was in upholstery manufacturing down in North Carolina, and we had a showroom at the Mart in Dallas. So every summer I'd have to go down there in 100-degree humidity or whatever, unload the truck and get the showroom ready for the show, and then I'd have to go back and then undo the showroom and sell the furniture that was at the market that people just bought, the floor samples and stuff. And then I did my retail career in Levitz. I went to University of Denver. I did the 5-year plan. So like you, I took a year off. I worked on the mountain. My parents had a house in Vail, so it was nice. I didn't have to pay rent, but had my pass, and I was an economics, political science major. But I really was a lacrosse hockey player. I got my sticks behind me, but
I noticed the sticks. Kind of hard to miss those.
Yeah. I'm very proud of this. But I didn't even pick up a stick until I was a sophomore in prep school. I was really a hockey player. I wanted to be a professional hockey player, and I kind of just fell into lacrosse, and I ended up being more of a better lacrosse player than I was hockey. But I still play in the old man's league, and it's the fastest sport on 2 feet, and it's American. The Indians invented it. But the biggest thing is, your story that hit home with me was all the different experiences that you did, when in the summer, and you know, some people just aren't ready for school. So I give you credit for saying, you know what, I'm not ready for this. A lot of people go into college and they're like, like I was a boarding student, you know, 9 through 12. I was in Central Jersey. So I had lived away from home. So when I went to college, I had already lived away from home. I kind of didn't really have that, what am I going to do? But a lot of kids, they go in there and they're just, they're on their own. And,
Right.
you know, some of them make it, some of them don't. And, so that story there as well, taking that time off. And I always tell people, look, if you come out of high school, you don't know what you're going to do. I tell people, I said it many times on my show, go into the military. You know, because you get a roof over your head, you get 3 square meals a day, you learn a trade, you can come out and you can figure things out, you know, versus hanging out like today. A lot of kids, they don't know what they're going to do. Like my son, he works for Boeing. He didn't go, he went to trade school, FA mechanic school. He learned welding, you know, woodworking, all of that stuff. And now he's working on, you know, 787s or $350 million birds. Just got his pilot's license. He's only 24. And he's got grandiose plans. But like I said, he didn't do the college route. He went the school trade route. And so many of his buds, they either became pilots or they just went to get their, but you know, listen, some of these people, they walk out of school right now, you know, like you got an architecture degree, but a lot of people, they'll get this 4-year degree that's not worth the paper that's printed on.
Right.
And those jobs aren't even around. And you and I are both in construction. So we need architects, engineers, but we also need HVAC, plumbers, electricians, you know, all those kind of people to get the jobs done, whether it's new build or renovation of facilities. And so your story, we're probably close to age as well as our marital, you know, roller coaster. And but you know, the biggest thing that when I talk to people like you is that when they go to school as an architect, they teach you drafting and design, and you're kind of like you know, a glorified artist. But when you get out of school, architecture is not all that. You're basically a project manager because you know, like right now you're talking to your team members, but really you're a PM with, you know, the contractor, the end user. You're making sure that, you know, because your reputation is aligned, and they don't teach that in school. Am I right?
No, and I think that's an interesting conversation that I have had with other professors and deans along the way when I get a chance. That in some schools, luckily, are integrating design build programs. The University of Texas at Austin, it's been probably 10 years back now, has a design build component. They have shops, so they're actually getting these young people to get out in the field and put their hands on tools and materials and understand how things go together, and understand that you're exactly right. The design parts is critical. I mean, I don't mean to diminish its value, but if you look at the design piece and the scheme of the project, it's this much of the project, and the rest of the project is this much, right? And it's all of the things that once you've kind of figured out the design, you're still designing though. You're still designing the components. You're looking at the systems, and I think it's fascinating, the conversation you mentioned about the trades. I think people are realizing now that we've got a lot of people that are getting these educations that have just morphed out of control in terms of cost, and then some of the value that they're maybe not providing that they used to provide, and the trades have suffered because of that. I think there's a real awareness. You see it back in the K-12 market in our industry, and the projects that we do here at HED, where a lot of these CTE programs are moving into the high schools now, and then even into the junior college market or the community college market. So they're building these big areas where they can train people how to work on all these trades that we need in the building industry.
Oh yeah.
So it's such a relevant issue right now that we're dealing with in our industry.
Well, you know what was amazing when you know, my son, they had listen, I loved shop class when I was in junior high school. That was like
I did too. They don't have shop anymore. Well,
no,
right?
and we
They
had the
shop.
drafting tables. You know, they were drafting tables in there. You know, they were angled. And I remember one day that we were replicating an engine. So some people were pistons, some people were this, and the combustion engine, and you go around and do the loop. And you know, those were the days. You know, they don't have my son, they had a shop class that you could took a couple classes in the morning, and then you go to the class, and then you come back. but he didn't have the grades. And so I met with the counselor and I don't know, someone the principal or whatever. And I said, look, if there's 3,000 kids at this high school, there's one kid that you wanted. He was flipping cars and working on engines and bikes. He was always wanting to work with his hands. So look, there's one kid in here. He's not in English. He's not in history. He's in there working with his hands. So if there's one kid you want to put in here, this is the guy you want to. Oh, Mr. Course, he doesn't have the math. I'm like, I'm telling you. So but they didn't put him in there. I yanked him out. He did homeschool, he did Life Academy, and he worked in the local garage. He was a waiter and got his degree. And then first he wanted to be an auto mechanic. I said, if you don't have your own shop, you're not going to make the money. Then he wanted to be a motorcycle mechanic. I said, look, you have to do it in a state where you're going to ride all year. All right, because
Right.
during the winter, if you do it in Minnesota, you're not going to be working.
Not going to work.
Well, you might be working on snow machines as they call them, but I call them snowmobiles. But you never know. And then we took the tour of this place called AIM, which is the Aviation Institute of Maintenance. Anyway, it was an old grocery store that was just sitting there vacant, and they renovated it, and they had a huge parking lot. They even put a little taxiway that they could taxi planes in the back. But they did welding, woodworking, avionics, learned anything that had a jet engine, he could work on. And it was only a 2-year program, and then it takes about a year to get your A&P license, which is FAA certified. And then you can work on anything that has a jet engine. It could be a boiler in a hot healthcare facility. It could be a train. It could be an Abrams tank. So it was amazing that I looked at some of his curriculum and the stuff that he was learning, and listen, I went to prep school, so I took physics, calculus, I did all that, Latin, and it was way above my pay grade. I mean, I could probably go through it, but just the stuff that he was learning was just unbelievable. And then we went and did the tour of the Boeing plant, not last on the summer before when he got hired. He's been there 2 years now, and what an experience. And I was just looking at him and I thought you were going to be a barista in Starbucks.
Yeah.
I had to drag your butt out of bed every morning, and but here he is. He's out there in the flight ops. He works on all the planes that come out. He spent a year in the plant, and then they hired him full time, and he works on all the birds that come out of the plant and gets them ready for delivery. The delivery center is absolutely immaculate there. And then any of the birds that they've sold that need to come back and get tweaked or worked on. So he could be in the cockpit, he could be in the wheel well, he could be wherever it is. And it's been really, really amazing to see that he did something that he really loved to do, and that he's taking it to heart. But all those other things that he did along the way, just like yourself, they all kind of mold you into
Absolutely.
who you are. And then like mold, you're the principal there, so you're molding the way that you want the next generation to come in. Obviously there's more technology, and with AI everything's just at warp speed, but still you can leave your footprint and let those people carry on the tradition. Just like my family, we were in sustainability before sustainability was even a word. So I look at now my cousins, they're my age, they're running the company right now, and uh, it's just really, really cool when you look back at all the things that you do that you can take. And like we were talking before we got on, you're a golfer, all right? So when you play golf, it really is. It's like playing chess, or you got to be a program manager. You can't worry about the score. You got to take one swing at a time, but you have to plan it. What club I'm going to take? Do I want to get air? Do I really want to give it some oomph? Well, this is maybe I want to lay up and chip. There's all these things that you're thinking about that you do in your business every day. And
Right.
so I always like talking to athletes because they know about winning, losing, they know about being flexible and having to be able to scrap your game plan and go. Because I'm sure over the years of some of the projects that you've done, you've run into some little bumps or potholes where you've had to kind of adjust and be flexible. Am I right?
Oh, there are no projects where we don't have to adjust. I think, there's anytime you have so many moving parts and pieces in a process, there are many opportunities for things to get off track, right? So I think part of the thing that's so important is having lived through the process enough times, and you've seen enough things that can happen in the process that you can anticipate. You can kind of read the tea leaves almost as you're going through a process. Once you understand the character of the client, the nature of the project, the particular challenges of the site, the budget, so you've got all these things you're navigating through. And depending on the client and the size, sometimes there's a client team, so you have multiple people you're answering to simultaneously. That can be a challenge. So absolutely, you really need to be flexible, and you need to be ready to pivot, and you need to be able to do it thoughtfully with some kind of something to back it up, right? You need to be able to explain to the client, well, here's what I see and why I see an issue that we need to talk about, and here are some pathways I think forward that we can get you where you want to be, right? Because my job, I'm in the service business, right? They come
You're
to
a
me,
service provider.
they come to me for professional service to get their project idea from. It may be a reasonably well thought out idea, or it may be not very well thought out. So we may come in early enough to help them conceive and fine tune their idea, and even create the idea and document the idea and put a budget to the idea. Or they may come to me and say, well, hey, Barton, here's this school project. It's going to be 150,000 square feet. I want 20 classrooms. I want a gymnasium. I want the library space. I want CTE classes, and then I'm just kind of helping them put it together on the site. So, but every site's different, as you know. In the construction industry, there are challenges around the perimeter or within the site, depending on the site. And the marketplace lately, as you probably know, has been crazy. My biggest struggle, I would say, navigating project process most recently would be getting the budget right early and figuring out how we're going to get to the finish line. I think a lot of clients have misjudged, or they might have funded a public project a year or two ago in a bond, and they made an assumption a year or two ago, and then by the time they get to actually building the project, the market has, in some cases, we've struggled with 25, 35+% budget challenges early on. So you can imagine that's a fun conversation to have with the client when you got to say, okay, here's where I think we are and here's why, and then we have to have that tough conversation about, so how are we going to adjust? How are we going to pivot? How are we going to rethink this project to get you as much as you can? Could be a phase. Well, we're going to just phase it. Right now we can build you this phase. We'll plan it so this other phase will plug right on really easily, and maybe in the next year or 2 or 3 you can add that on. Or maybe by the time we finish the design, you will have found some additional funding to supplement your current budget, and we can go ahead and finish designing the whole thing. So, those are the things that we have to offer as professionals, and it's nice in an integrated team environment that I now have at HED, which I didn't really have at VAI, which for most of my career is now I have experts in all the engineering disciplines that I can bring on the team and into that conversation, or I can get out ahead of it. I can have that conversation before. So it's really been a real nice journey to the last couple of years at HED. Doing these kinds
Well, listen, I'm going to. We bought a piece of land up on the lake, and it's the HOAs on there were 52 homes up there. And anyway, my wife's an interior designer, residential contractor, renovation, not for ground up, but that's what she does, color consultant, etc.
Good. Yeah.
Anyway, so we have our plans done, and we're getting our construction loan. We're going to build it, and we have a contractor that in the state of Georgia, unless you pay full cash for your house, you can self-build, but you got to be a licensed contractor. Now we're registered federal contractors with the government, so we do small little jobs, or she does. It's womanly owned and stuff. But we have our architecture plans done, so we had tweaked a couple things. The HOA now is like, hey, you got to break ground, blah blah blah, and so the lender that we're dealing with, he just gave me a spreadsheet right before the Thanksgiving holiday, and we're putting all this stuff down. So we talked to our grader. He's graded every plot of land there. In fact, he puts his trailer on there when he's, when I'd have to go up there every 2 weeks to make sure the grass was cut, to keep the HOA guys happy. And I'd be like, Red, you got the trailer there, man. Next time you park, bring your whacker, because when you weed it, I don't want to see the weeds just sitting up there. Anyway, so we have to get these estimates. So I have a federal contractor that's helped me get the estimates, and she has her team. I have to find a concrete guy. I got to find a framing dude, and and a roofer. Everything else we have, she's got on her team, and she treats her team great because if you don't, someone else is going to steal them. So if you, I hate to use that word, but that's just the reality of it. And you know, look, she feeds them, pays them well, treats them like gold. They just, you know, she's like a mother to them, you know. So they just jump when, and they're ecstatic. They can't wait to build that thing. You know, it might be 4,000 square feet. You know, it's an empty nester house. You know, a little southern ranch. But so the grader said to her the last week, like, Red, we need your estimate. Oh, well, I don't know what I'm going to run into. I'm like, Red, you've cleared every piece of land that's up here. You drop your trailer. You know there's a little dip where they put the sewer line in there. There's a little hole there, but you're going to clear. There's a lot of trees on this on the lot, and you're going to have a lot of dirt. So you're going to figure it out. But you have to come. You know, you have to give me an estimate, because the financer is going to want to see what everything's going to cost. So now her team that's going to give me their estimates. I've had a professional estimator looking at our plans. He's going to estimate it out. So if they under or over. And I want to go over, to be honest with you. I want the pad there. So even the estimator is like, look, I'm going to pad 10, 50% additional on there because you just don't know what's going to happen. And then financing, you know, it's 9%, 8%, but now, you know, with the politics, it's election year, so they're going to probably drop the rates, you know, but as soon as elections, they're going to go back up again. But yeah, that's a whole nother story. But so we're going through that whole rigmarole of looking at everything and trying to make sure that you get the right amount of funding so you can cover it. I mean, the best thing would be that you don't spend all that money, but the worst thing is that you run short.
Right.
You got to go out and raise that other funds and stuff. And but we're excited to we're gonna break ground in January, and my wife and I don't kill each other. We haven't killed each other, you know, or we really don't work together, you know. And but it should be a fun project. I told her, I said, look, you watched all those homes get built. So your reputation's on the line because all the neighbors, they're all going to come in there and going to look at night. They're going to walk through the house and go, "Why did you do that? Oh, that was really a good idea. We should have done that."
Yeah.
You know, so I just
you know exactly what I'm talking about then. Yep.
Yeah, I said, look, we don't have the most. We just want the house to look really, 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 really nice, nicely built. You did a great job. That's all I want to hear. And you know, we're gonna videograph it. So I might even put it in the magazine as a diary. And so anyway, I get the whole padding thing. That's a major, because you just don't know what's going to happen, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 months from now, you know, as you know, when you're getting the budget done. But having the multidisciplinaries, you know, architecture, engineering, and have, you know, kind of that design build mentality. I always tell people, like, you know, like, I'm a lacrosse player, so on my men's team, I'll go in the goal if I have to. If I put a deep hole in my hand, or if I need an offensive guy, I can play all the positions. So I always tell, you know, any of the kids, or when I was coaching on any of my teams, I'm like, look, you might be a running back in high school, but when you get down to University of Texas, Coach Sarkisian, he's going to say, "Hey, you're a linebacker." "No, coach, I'm a running back." "No, you're a linebacker." Okay, so that's just the reality of it. So you might as well learn as much as you can, because you don't know. The more you know, the more different positions that you can play. It's just like in golf. You don't want to be just a driver, but you can't putt, or you don't want to be. It's that same concept. You want to be able to hit all the different tools that are in that golf bag and be good at it, right? And because, you know, I've only broken 80 once in my life. I play bogey golf, and but I only broke it once. And the only reason I broke the 80 was I was playing with the 3 really good golfers, and they kept score. I didn't do any mulligans. I played on my ball, and they didn't tell me I was on. You know, they could have told me on the 16th hole, "Hey, David, if you par these 2 holes, you're gonna break 80." But they didn't tell me. If they would have told me, I would have knocked it in the water.
Yeah, exactly.
So when I got done, they're like, "Hey, Dave, you shot 79." I'm like, "No, recount that." And I told him, I said, "I'm so glad you didn't tell me where I was at, because I was just having a fun time with you guys out here. I was just, you know, you know how some days you're out there and just everything is just clicking, you know, and listen, a couple of putts here and there could have just knocked me over that 80 benchmark. So
that's what keeps you coming back too, right?
For the love of the game, and you have good days, you have bad days, and just like me, you know, listen, I'm a builder. I just build a magazine every month. You know, I used to do it paper ink and, you know, all that, but now I do it digitally. But I'm still proud of it. You know, look at, hey, I built that. And I've got one more to build this year, and then I'll just start doing it all over again. So, if there was, what was one of your coolest projects over your 40 years? What's the one of your favorite ones that you did?
Uh, wow, that's going to be. Let me think about that. I've got some things going right now. I think my most favorite project's the one that I'm getting ready to start. Uh, and so let me talk a little bit about kind of my sector is the community sector, which is primarily made up of the municipal districts, the cities, and the local governments. But it also includes some of the religious stuff. We've done libraries and we've done fire stations. We've done some city hall work, done some police station work. I've done maintenance facilities for cities and a big variety of things. One of the most unique projects I'll mention briefly is the Catholic Church project I did many years ago because it involved what I affectionately call two a Cuban, a Mexican, an Irish Catholic, and a Texas boy. We went to Mexico City to research the churches, and it was the priest from the church. It was the founding partner of my company, 𝐊𝐇𝐈𝐒, back in the day, and Father Mike Mooney. He was the priest of the church, and then he hooked us up with a Mexican architect down in Mexico City, and we went down and toured about 40 churches. All around Mexico City. You'd be amazed. You basically just walk across the street and there's another Catholic village church. Beautiful, beautiful architecture, beautiful stonework. But what was so fascinating about that project is for a very poor, small Hispanic group in Texas, and it was their first church, and the diocese was helping them out. So we wanted to really learn, what's this group about? So we researched the history of the churches there, and it was fascinating because we would get together every day after touring, and we'd have conversations and talk about what we saw and what we learned, and then there'd be this little period of, well, you have to do it in Spanish and have to do it in English because the Mexican architect didn't speak any English, but he spoke about as much English as I spoke Spanish, right? So,
Right.
Incredible project. We came back and built what I consider a very authentic, inspired Mexican village church here in the Dallas area, and that was a very meaningful and important project to me. And it was really phase one. It was about a 40-acre development. It was phase one, and we did about 4 phases overall and did some other community buildings, a child care facility, a recreation facility, and then an elementary school, and then Catholic church, all around a kind of an inspired Mexican village plaza space.
Oh, it sounds
That was
beautiful.
probably one of my most meaningful ones. But recently I've been working in a small suburban area north of Dallas called Salina, and we just recently converted an old church building built in 1922. It was converted into a council chambers, which is kind of an interesting adaptive reuse, right? You take something that's 100 years old and you repurpose it for something totally different, but it's a beautiful fit, and it was a lot of fun because we got a chance to get in and peel back some of the terrible things that have been done to it over the years and kind of get it back to some of the basic structure and clean it up and bring in new technology and state-of-the-art efficiency with the mechanical systems and just transform it into something really special. And because that worked so well and they liked it so well, we got invited back, and we just recently won a commission for what's going to be called their new government center. And it's going to be a 100,000 square foot facility that includes a downtown public library and then all of the management group from the entire city departments. The building department, the finance department, the development group. It'll have the management offices for the council folks, and the unique thing, and it's going to have a parking garage built immediately adjacent to it, and it's right on a town square. And this is a small, growing city north of town. It's only about 30,000 people right now, but it's just, I saw some stats recently about the growth in North Texas, and we're getting about 3,000 people a month moving into North Texas from around the country. So
Sure.
that means those little small suburban cities around the big urban areas they're booming, and this happens to be one of those booming areas. So we're getting to help them as part of their master plan development, we're going to be the first major new building on the new town square. So
Oh, wow.
it's going to be an important project for this little city. Set the stage. We're going to do something that's architecturally compatible with the character of their downtown, which is mostly brick, turn of the century kind of brick building vernacular. So we're going for that kind of, they want a traditional look, but on the inside they want to switch gears. They want to go contemporary, modern, high technology. Thinking about our workplace today, the way that everything's changed since COVID, we all kind of had to adapt our work habits when we kind of got shut down several years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're, even cities are trying to figure out the new work plan. I know this particular city's gone to a 4-day work week now with 1-day remote work. So that causes us to rethink how we're going to design the functional aspects of the interior of their building now. So that's probably, I think it's going to be one of my most significant projects of my career, and I'm really excited that we're just starting in January. So I'm starting the new year with something really exciting to work on. We're going to bring our integrated team in to think about how to make this place really special for this small growing city. And it's got a couple of unique features that I think are going to make it even more special. It's going to have a basement because they're worried about the scale of the city. They don't want this big, tall, overpowering element in a very small, kind of quaint downtown environment. So we're going to have a basement, which will be perfect for part of the library functions, where the kids can run around and have their own kind of space down low, and then we're going to have a rooftop garden where there'll be some community space up top and a place for the staff to go, and then even for them to have functions. Movie night for the town. We've got some really interesting kind of ideas that we're kicking around about how to kind of bring this thing to life. So
I know Salina very well because
do you really?
yeah, I know that people from Fort Worth don't like going to Dallas, and Dallas people don't like going to Fort Worth. So Salina's kind of like right in the middle. And whenever I did my cocktail party, I always wanted to be in the middle because I didn't want to tick off anybody that was in either part of the city. I don't live there, but I know
You're exactly right. There was a time. You're exactly right. I remember growing up, very specific stories about the mayor would come to Dallas for anything. He would never spend a penny in Dallas. The mayor from Fort Worth would come to Dallas. He would always brown bag his lunch. He would make it a special event to show, I'm in Dallas. I'm eating my lunch I brought from Fort Worth. I'm not spending any money in your town. So
yeah.
yes, indeed, there is that rivalry, and it exists today. Very different cultures in there.
I've done several events there, and like when people ask me like, "Where are you gonna do?" I'm like, "I'm gonna do it right in the middle because I know I know the gig between Fort Worth and Dallas." And
you're exactly right. You're gonna stay neutral. Look
yeah,
for the Switzerland of Dallas Fort Worth, right?
Yeah. I was like, we did it at a beer, a craft brew place. It was right around the corner from the stadium, and we did it in another place. But I did a bunch downtown. Don't get me wrong, I did a couple in Fort Worth, and people came over. But I know the rivalry between the two, but which is good. Competition's good.
It is, and I think the fact that we're different is it's a different synergy for the Metroplex, right? It makes us more interesting, I think.
Yeah.
And maybe one of the reasons that people are attracted and coming to North Texas. I mean, we're metropolitan area of pushing 8 million and growing. So
yeah, sure.
It's been an interesting place.
So everybody out there in commercial construction coffee talk, if you got a project and you're looking for a little more flair, to have the historical aspect and then put that contemporary look at it, it could be, commercial, it could be a government, municipality, whatever. Barton's team, he's got offices all around the country. Barton, if anybody wanted to reach out to you, or maybe they're building a church too, and they wanted to hear how that whole concept went with when you were doing that project, how would they reach out to you?
The best way to get me is by email. I love reading emails. I read them in the morning when I get here and in the evening when I go home. But if you reach out to B Drake at HED design, we've got a little different, unique spin on our we're not a .com. It's just .design. And I'd be happy to talk to you about any project. And if you need something that I don't have expertise, I have access to expertise all over the country, and that's kind of one of one of my selling features I love about being with HED, which I didn't have before. If you need someone that's an expert in housing, I can have them here in in half a day.
That's the one really cool thing about construction is because like I deal with the Retail Contractors Association. And I do their newsletter and their membership directory is coming up on my next issue, and I've been doing it forever. But they've got contractors all over, and they might get they might have a job that they're up in the Northeast, but that brand is expanding out, let's say into California, and he's not really out there. He'll reach out to one of the other guys and say, hey, will you do this for me? Or that there's no rivalry there. They're all in together, and it's kind of like a family gig. You want to keep it within the family, and so I totally get that. So
and I love it. Being able to provide that is something that just excites me to no end. Especially now that I've kind of seen it all and I've done it all. I've done a little bit of everything, but now I've got guys that are they're like surgeons. If you want something in housing or it's mission critical or high ed or manufacturing, I can find an expert for you and get you what you need. And we have talent all over the country. I love to bring it together. We're about 50 people here in the Dallas office. We got talent here too. But I mean, the nice thing is I can really fine tune the services I can offer to clients now, which is a great way for me to what I like to call the fourth quarter of my career. I'm really having fun and up the game, you know what I mean, and really provide some services I just couldn't do before. That it's just really exciting for me.
So everybody out there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, B Drake, HED.design. You can email him and he'll get back to you. If anybody wants to reach me, you can get me at davidc@ccr-mag.com. Listen, the publicist sent me a note. That's how Barton got on here. I didn't know who he was. So if you want to, send me, listen, we post content all day long. Don't judge it. Send me something. It could be, a case study. It could be a charity golf tournament you're doing. It could be a new project, a new personnel announcement. Send all that stuff. We post it all day long. We're always looking for that stuff. And I always say, if you want to, if you don't buy a lottery ticket, you can't win. If you don't send me something, I can't look at it. That's the way, his publicist sent me something, and then we had the conversation. Here he is today telling his story. So, let us be the judge. And look, it's very tough getting in the magazine. I'll be upfront. We're very, I let my editor kind of decide those things, but the bottom line is that, we've got all these other social media channels and we post everything. And our turnaround time, listen, you send it to us, we send the live link, you share it, it's good for our SEO, which is search engine optimization. You find on Google, it's a win-win. So the more stuff that you send to me, and it doesn't have to be architecture. One of the things I found out over the last 3 years of the shutdown was that there's more to life than just work. So we post, the majority of the stuff to do is construction AEC, content. But we also put other stuff on there, how to buy the right cell phone, what's the best insurance to do. I even have content on there, how to have hair extensions. Half my circulation is female. So, and there might be some guys out there that want to wear the hair extensions these days. I don't know. So, but I put that stuff up there to give it a little flair. So, send it to me. We'll do something with it. All right. So as we finish up here, if there was one positive thought or phrase that you'd like to leave our listeners out there, Commercial Construction Coffee Talk, as we finish up 2023 and we roll into 2024 in about a month, what would it be?
Well, from my life experience, and not only professionally but even maybe personally, I think I would say embrace teamwork. Embrace teamwork because it makes life much more enjoyable and it's fulfilling, and you can get the best expertise. You just can't know it all. You can't be an expert in everything. So embrace teamwork, compose the right team, and you'll have a great time doing projects and probably anything else you do in life.
There's no I in team. Okay.
Thank you. Exactly right.
No I in team. So I'm all about teamwork, and that's one of my goals this year. I just hired a person to do a lot of our content posting on the web. That took that off my plate, and I'm launching my digital agency, and I want to hire a salesperson and an event person for my magazine, so it can kind of keep that momentum, and I can kind of take the 40,000 foot macro view and kind of spend my time on my digital agency. And but you just can't do it all. And you know, if you want to scale your business, you got to hire people, and you got to find the right ones too.
Right.
So, and remember those construction consultants, they can help you hire too. So, awesome quote. Take that to the bank. Embrace teamwork. Two things before we leave. Number one, we want you to be safe on that construction site. Okay, so because we want you to get home, see your kids, your wife, your dogs, and you know, have a nice meal, catch some Z's, and be able to do it the next day. And number two, listen, I know it's not hot, you know, the old man winter's coming around, but you still have to stay hydrated. So bottom line is drink lots of liquid. I don't care what you're doing. To be on the golf course, to be on a project, you know, crossfield, hockey rink, whatever, you got to stay hydrated because when you get dehydrated, you get headaches. That's when mistakes happen. That's when you get hurt. So drink lots of liquid. Keep liquefied all day long. You'll feel better. You'll sleep better at night, and you'll get her done, as they say. So Barton, lastly, hit the like button too. All right, because we want you know, the algorithms to find the, you know, Barton's story here, because I think it was very, very interesting. You know, we got the horns going and all that
Yes,
stuff.
indeed.
You know?
Thank you for that. I do appreciate it.
Yeah.
David.
You know, even though I'm a Pio, Denver Pio, you know, go horns. So, with that said, Barton, say goodbye from Big D down there to our listeners out there.
Have a wonderful week, everyone. A blessed week, and I'll look forward to hearing from anyone that needs any help from me in the Dallas area or anywhere in the country for that matter. Don't be shy.
Yeah, and listen, everybody, listen, you got the holidays coming up, you got Hanukkah, you got Christmas, and then New Year's, boom, we got a month, boom, we're going to go into 2024. 2023 has been a wild ride. I still have my seatbelt on. I think 2024 is going to be a little wider, so I think I'm going to tighten it up a little, but I'm very, very positive, and it's going to be great, and got to be able to roll with the punches. You know, it might get worse before it gets better, but at least you're still in the game. So, Barton, when I get down there, I look forward to meeting you in person, and maybe,
Please.
you know, we'll go take a look at that project that you're doing.
Absolutely.
And I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, which is about 25 miles north of downtown Atlanta, just below the Beaufort Dam on Lake Lanier. And everybody, have a great holiday, and we'll see you all next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Barton, thoroughly enjoyed the conversation and look forward to seeing you in person. All right.
Absolutely. I enjoyed it as well, David. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Have a great rest of the week. We'll see you next time. Thanks.